All right, welcome back to week 43 of Agentuity Demo Day. This has been a crazy week as we enter into the second week of our alpha release, moving hopefully into beta really soon. And it's been a flurry of bug fixes and feature improvements and enhancements and feedback from everyone, and it's been really great. And we're moving as fast as we possibly can. Parteek will share some information, a little bit more detail about it in the blog here. At the end, he'll go over that. But I'm going to start us off with some of the stuff that I've been working on the last couple of days for some really great feedback from Ben Davis this week, and some of the changes we made. Some of this is getting ready. Some of this is already live in the current release. Some of it will go live here today, hopefully after this call. But let me just share my screen, and I'll just take us away. I'm going to start with a little bit. This is just one of our end-to-end playwright tests, and I'm just going to use that as an example. But we have this new generated folder right here. So this is your typical source, agent, API, web. We've debated long and hard, and I think this is kind of where we landed. So we'd love your input as well. But where we landed is we wanted to, great feedback from the community, but we wanted to create a generated folder so you could see everything is being generated by our SDK for the runtime. So there's no magic. You can see all the TypeScript definitions, etc. We also wanted to give some hints to your agents not to go in there and mess with the files as well as we try to give you a little bit of documentation of what is in there. If you're just curious how we do a lot of the stuff we do to get type safety and all the kind of magic, you can kind of look in here. So I won't go through every one of these, but this is just kind of the bootstrap that loads up all the routes and the SDK and the runtime and all that. So you can sort of see that information. If you go into the registry, these are all our types. One of the big things that I did this week, which is some really good feedback, while this is meant to be for the machine, so it's meant to be for the TypeScript compiler or the NeoVim or whatever your language processor is on the back end. We also wanted to make it human readable. So I've tried to do a lot of work around making it really look nice and be self-documenting. So if you did want to kind of come in here and see what we're doing, we're not big fans from a developer standpoint of having this overly complex stuff that's hard to reason about either by you or by your agent. So we've done a really good job. We've also tried to make it composable. So all the types are exported. So if you want it, we got some feedback from some different users where they wanted to be able to take one of our generated types and then compose it or add to it or pull some pieces out. And so we've tried to make that really easy as well. As you can sort of see here, we've made it really good documentation as well. So when you get IntelliSense, you should get really nice, depending on your editor, you should get really nice hints and things like that. So you can sort of see that here. And then same with routes. Routes, we also introduced a new capability that's getting ready to go live. I'll show that here. We have the traditional declarative style. If you're using, for example, the React and you're using the use API hook or the use WebSocket or any of those, you can sort of see the types here. And we've also, based on some great feedback, we also have we've also support a new RPC style. So this is more of a imperative API for agents in kind of clients or front ends. So we're getting ready to roll this out, but it also generates kind of a different graph of types, as you can see, which I'll show you an example of what this looks like, but this is just generating the different graphs. So we can do all the kind of the special stuff. And then if you look at what that looks like in code, so I have just a standard API. So let me just go over here and look at a standard API, just a standard API, for testing or whatever. And then if you look at, let me see here, where's my test? Where's my test? Here we go. I have a test page. So I built a bunch of tests out. These are playwright tests for the front end, but you can sort of see the imperative API. So I can just, create my client, create an API instance. If you're inside of React, it automatically knows to inject if you're using one of our authentication providers, using the new auth package that we introduced, it'll automatically generate the headers and all that in there for you automatically. If you're in a different type of package, pure JS package, for example, you can just pass that in as a header if you have to. And this is a good example. I created that API client, and now I can just do hello.post, and it's all type safe, and the returns are type safe and everything. And then it just kind of invokes fetch underneath the covers. We also have a WebSocket version of this. So if you have a WebSocket endpoint and you want to create a client, you can just say, echo.websocket, get your WebSocket client back, and we'll do all the state management, reconnection, all that for you, again, automatically. And then here's an event stream, an SSE version of that. So I can just get an event stream back, and I can add myself as a listener for messages and when it closes, et cetera. So again, we'll automatically underneath the covers handle the reconnection attempts and the backoffs and all that for you automatically. So this is a great example of an alternative way of programming versus this more declarative way like you might have over here. Where I have it here, where you can just use post and get an API. And this is more of a React style, kind of reactive way of doing it. Both are reactive, both work. It's just kind of an imperative versus declarative way, depending on what you like. So that's it for me. I'm gonna pass it on.
Awesome, thanks, Jeff. All right, so I'm going to start with just a quick little thing that Bobby and I have been working on this past week, which is the ability to, you've already got the ability to do evals, but one thing that we keep finding is there's a lot of these evals that we want to keep reusing over and over. And so we're going to come out with a package that you can pull in called Agentuity Evals, and it's going to have a bunch of preset evals for you that you can pull and use by just passing it to your create eval function over here. We're still working through these. We've got a bunch of different ones in here, what we think are the most common ones that we've seen. And really they're just prompts. And so we're also going to try and make it so that you can sort of expand on top of these and edit these as you wish and use this as foundation. So that's one little thing that we're working on. They'll be coming out soon. The other thing I spent time on this week is threads. So, we've supported threads since we released the alpha of V1, but it was sort of like a really, MVP sort of support for the threads in the UI. So initially what we had was if you had clicked on the thread icon, it would just basically filter this session list here based on the thread ID. What we've got instead now is you can actually click on this to open a thread. We've also got this on spans now too, where if you click on a span, and it's associated with the thread, just like all the others, you can actually just go straight to that thread and inspect that. And lastly, we've added this thread nav item when you're within a project. And so let's go take a look at that real fast. So if you pull it up, you'll see we've got a list of all the recent threads over here on the left side. And if you click on one, we'll pull it up. The screen it's out there. We're going to keep iterating on it. It's kind of minimal for now, but just wanted to get it in everyone's hands so they can see it, play with it, feel it out. But yeah, you can just kind of quickly go through and check each of these threads. And of course, it's going to take forever because I've been running npm run dev for quite a while now. Let's try that again. All right, so the other cool thing is it is an intercept route like we have with sessions and logs and everything else. So if you come directly to that URL, it'll take you straight to the actual thread itself instead of in the list. And so what we got here, again, minimal. We've just got one card up here with the activity information. So this is the first time the thread was sort of created, and the last time any session was basically tacked onto that thread. And down below, we've got this really cool JSON viewer that Rick put together that shows you all the sort of state information that is attached to that thread. So you can see all the messages that come through. You can see turn count, user ID, whatever else it is you want to stick on that state. The other really cool thing that Rick did is you can actually search in here. It will auto expand everything and show you where all the results are. This is, of course, actually modifying the URL. So this is deep linkable. If you refresh this page, it'll come right back and have all this highlighted. So it's really easy to share this with colleagues. The other thing we've got is we obviously have a list of all the sessions. So you can see this here. And just as always, if you click on it, it'll do this sheet slide out. And we're going to keep adding more and more to this screen. So keep an eye on it. And if you have any feedback or if there's something you want to see specifically, please let us know. And with that, I think we're over to Rick.
I'm over here talking and I'm muted. All right, I shared my screen. Hello, everybody. All right, so a few things working on this week. Some of the thread stuff Matt just showed off. Another thing is we have this Agent2D CLI with any screen that you go to. We want to show you that you can also run a similar CLI command to get some of the same data. So in this case, it's getting the project details, right? But if I go to the session screen here, and then I click on this, you can see, look, there's list sessions, filter by count, by success. So you can do that. You can go to logs. You'll get some CLI commands as well. And then also, let me just show you this. Orthogonally, you can say agentuity project list, and we'll fetch it. You see this view on the web, and then you can click on that to go to the screen on the web. So we're trying to like orthogonally let you like access things via the CLI or access things on the web a certain way. So we'll try to guide you that way. So kind of handy. The next thing I added, and Jeff worked on this too on Ion and stuff, is the SSH terminal. So when you have a deployment, there's already a CLI command, agentuity, cloud, or whatever it is, SSH, and you can SSH into your deployments. So if you click on it, it'll open up a terminal, which is using libghosty in the web, by the way, which is amazing. So now I've actually shelled into the active deployment for this this project. And then this is where you can just list out things. You can cat things. There you go. Woo, it's a big old file. And so you can do whatever you want inside of here, inside of the container. Well, not anything you want, but a lot of things that you might want. And also a little fun fact, if you don't know, our containers actually ship with some coding agents for future things that we're going to build. But check this out. I'm in the container and I run open code, and it just opened up open code. And I can actually say things like, hey, show me the logs or show me what's going on. It'll actually use the agentuity CLI and some other stuff to actually go and inspect what's going on in the container, which is kind of cool. So you have a coding agent inside of the container as well, which is pretty neat. And you can click on this to kill the session, but you can actually open up a bunch of different ones. So you can go to deployment, and like you can go to this deployment and say SSH. And now I've shelled into this deployment. So now I can go back and forth between the two different deployments if I want, which is kind of cool. Or I can kill it. And then it'll actually show you up here, the little green icon. Hey, active, click on it. And you can see this is the active session, and I can kill it as well. So now no active sessions. All right, so there's that. And then the other one is today's Agent Friday. So we try to work on something agent related. And so one of the things that I've been working on, one of the premises I have is that a coding agent for a lot of use cases actually is the base agent. It is the primitive agent that everybody should build things on top of. And the proof point of that is just go to look at all these agents that we built, they're open source, or that maybe some of the people in the community have built, and you'll see it's over and over and over again. You're adding the same tools, really complicated bunch of tool sets for like talking to GitHub, and then this and that, and then there's all this MCP complexity that they add to it. And really all they need is a coding agent with an access to a file system, and it will do better than all the deterministic tool calling and MCP stuff that people put together, which is kind of ironic. It's like we're using agents for non-determinism, and then we end up putting all this determinism in there because we're so used to programming a certain way, and all you need is a coding agent. Anyway, so I took a V1 project. I'll just go ahead and show it to you, and then I'll run it, okay? So let me do that. Let me just show you the project. I took a V1 project, and our agent is an agentuity agent, but inside it actually just uses open code. So it uses a coding agent. So real quick, API, I'm going to go here. We have two endpoints. I did this for testing because I'm kind of prototyping this out. There's analyze and there's analyze streaming wise. Some of this code could be a lot better too, but that's all right. So in this case, I'm creating an agent. This is a V1 SDK agent. Our input is a prompt with an optional session. The session is the session of open code, because in open code, you can create multiple instances of it, and all these different sessions are running on. So it's an open code session. And all I'm doing is you can see here, I'm getting the session if it's there. Otherwise, we'd create a new session. And then I pass in this case, I'm hard coding a provider, and I have a prompt. This is a data analysis agent. It's just a prompt. And that's it. That's all I do. And then when you run it, it will do whatever you ask it to do, but it will do it in a coding agent loop. using the file system on the container and just loop through the thing. So let me just show you what that's like really quick, just as an example. So I'm gonna run dev this thing. All right, so we're running. Let's open. I vibe coded this little front end as an example, so you could curl this just as easy as well. But anyway, this is download the Titanic data set, and I link to it here, the CSV. It is obviously the canonical Titanic data set, right? Everybody uses. Tell me the survival rate by passenger class. All right, so I'm going to do that. Now, while it's doing that, let me just explain. So like if you were to do this in a normal agent framework or in a normal agent, like, oh, let me go make this LLM call and then add this tool, you'd have to add tool calling for GitHub, or MCP, right? You have to add tool calling for, let me save the CSV, let me read a CSV, let me parse the CSV, right? You end up writing all this code for the agent to do the thing, but you see what it just did, right? It just, like, we hit this API endpoint, it went and did it and spit it out here without me having to write all of the MCPs and tool calling and stuff. It's because we use a coding agent and it used the file system. And the cool thing is, in this case, because this is open code, because open code has client server, which is a great architecture, by the way. I can actually open code here, and I can say session, and I can actually look at it, and you can actually see what it did. Of course, I could have spit this all out on just a little vibe coded interface, but you can see it went and it made a directory in my temporary directory. It got the data, and then what it do? It wrote analyze.ts, so it's a little bun because it knows we're in bun because our containers are bun native, right? So it wrote a bun script to go through it, iterated over it, and then spat out the results, which is what you see here on the left-hand side too. But you can kind of check it on the open code client too, which is kind of neat. And then let's see here. If I show you, let me kill the server real quick. So if I show you the temporary files, what did it do? There's a file that it wrote. So it wrote this and then it executed it. Pretty cool, right? So anyway, lots more to come on this, but it's pretty interesting how powerful you can make agents by just using a coding agent under the cover. And then, with AG2, you get an API, email, webhook, you can call the thing, that's the phone number. Pretty interesting. So a lot to come. And as you saw, the containers just a minute ago, I opened up open code in a deployed container. Imagine like your agents are running coding agents and you can just open up the client and see what it's doing. So lots of cool stuff coming. All right, that's it for me. Who's next?
I'm next. Okay. Let me show a little bit. I'm going to show again this project that I showed on the last weekly update that we had. It's a little bigger now, but I want to talk a little bit about our pretty much move from straight up bun to V when it comes to our front end. We now incorporate the V ecosystem on our stack, which means faster reloads, support to a bunch of plugins. So a lot of stuff just right now is plug and play, like routers for front end stuff, like Tailwind working way better now, fast reloading, hot module reloading as well. Everything is just working better, faster, stronger, all the cool stuff. And we're still working, still dogfooding our stuff. We now have been using the SDK internally quite a lot for the Op Center stuff. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff on the Op Center eventually as well. Hopefully next week, either me or Pedro can demo the AI features of the Op Center. But yeah, it's mostly an update of our SDK is working better than ever, and we're using it. So you guys should probably use it too, and give us the feedback, because I want to do a small competition of who reports more bugs by V1, so we can track who reported the most amount of bugs when we launch V1. So now to Parteek.
Awesome, thank you, Gabe. So over the past week, I've been working on this little SDK Explorer. And so, as the name might imply, it's sort of a way to learn the V1 platform and do so in an interactive way. So it's kind of like the V1 version of Kitchen Sink, just kind of renamed a little bit. And sort of anecdotally, just to give context on the name change, this sort of started when I was first getting up to speed with V1 and trying out one of the default templates, like, a basic hello agent with, React hooks and things like that. And from there, kind of just trying things out, adding, different aspects to this agent, it sort of became like this SDK Explorer. And since I'm trying to like do everything in V1, it sort of became like the V1 kitchen sink. So that's what the SDK Explorer is, and I'm going to show a few of the things that you can do with it. So if you've seen V0 in the kitchen sink, you know that we have like something about the handler context. So kind of just showing you some of your session data. So we can click on that. Hopefully it'll load. Might have to hit a reload here. But if we head back, we should be able to get some session data there. And I'm seeing an issue with thread states, but this kind of should show like what sessions are, what threads are. You can go over to the state section and see like, your request will change each time, or your session will change each time, given that it's for the current request. But you can see your thread visits going up each time you click that. So should kind of give you a better understanding of like what both of those things are. And as you can see on the right side, we try and give you like some reference code that walks you through like a basic reference of what all these features do. Of course, you can take a look at your agents because we have an agent registry. So you can see all the, the names and the descriptions of agents here. We even have things like logging in background, which, we'll make this available so you can like clone the repo and customize it to your needs. But if you're just looking at this in, in a browser, we still give you like an example terminal output for like what different log levels would be. And it's similar for like background. So, you can see we start a background task and then 5 seconds later, you get like the, the background task while the main response was sent automatically. So yeah, that's some of the basics, handler context. We also have some of the services from V0. So like all your storage APIs, you can, interact with those. We automatically load a document when you first enter in. So, you can do semantic searches while that's going.
Cool.
Yeah, while that's going, you can kind of like look at this example code and see like what you get with vector search. And then you can get like a live demo, right, of this like chair recommendation system that we built. And so there, similar idea for like, key value object storage. And then also AI gateway, which is one of like the nice DX things that we offer, but sometimes it's hard to know like what this is and like how you use it. So, hopefully this will give you like a better understanding of like what the gateway is and how we automatically like route to whatever model provider you want. So, you can come in here and, select whatever models you want and just get that to, run, and it'll, stream back some responses. So that's the AI gateway. And we try and add like some helpful notes on like what each demo is trying to do. There's a few new things with V1, like SSE and WebSockets. So I'll quickly show off like SSE streaming. Then we have some example prompts, and we can just select one of the models that you saw before, start that, and we'll see like the token streaming in, right, and the response in there. So again, it's sort of like a learn by doing, but then also you see the reference code on the side there. There's plenty of more stuff. Some of this might not be working right now, so I'm going to skip over it. But we also have like WebSockets, an example for WebSocket for bidirectional communication. And of course, like as we add more features in, that'll all be in here as well. So it's a bit on the SDK Explorer, a lot to come with this. But for sort of all the features that we talk about in demo days or we just ship in general with the SDK, we do have blog posts that we're publishing every week. So we just had one go out today for all the changes that we talked about and some of the things that we didn't. So there's a ton in here about like the new Vite build system that Gabe kind of mentioned. We sort of have like a custom Vite plus one architecture, so we talk about that a bit here. some of the new front-end packages, some of the things that we talked about with type-safe calling, API calling, as well as like new packages for auth with Clerk and Auth0 that we also offer, and a bunch more, right? There's a ton in here. We also link to like docs that are being updated as all this is happening. So, all that should be up to date and you can check that out. And of course, at the end, we have all of our resources. So definitely, join our Discord. Let us know if you're building with V1. Open any issues if you see any, and we'd love to keep iterating on this and make it better. So, yeah, that's my demo.
Amazing week. All right. A few more days for hopefully a few more days, maybe a little bit longer for the beta, but we got a lot of little bugs we got to fix and things that we're trying to iron out before the beta starts. But give us a little bit of time and patience. But thanks everybody for hard work this week and for a great short week and holiday next week for those that are taking it. So we'll see you guys. Thank you. Bye.